really don't have behavior issues because of that, because I allow the students to have a voice. I allow the kids to have some ownership of the classroom, even to something I know as teachers we're kind of afraid to do in terms of letting them kind of come up with the rules for the class. I know some teachers are like, oh Lord, no, they can't, But kids have been in school long enough, they know what the basic rules are. And so you talk to them about the rules and the structure of a classroom. You ask them, okay, what should we not do in this classroom? You want to learn, what should we do? And they'll tell you, we shouldn't talk, we need to raise our hands, we need to do this. So rules that we already know that are intrinsic in that classroom environment, the kids will actually say. But when it comes from them, they take more ownership of it. So it kind of gives you better results. So for me, those have been some of my best practices over the years, just to step back a little bit, allow the kids to kind of participate in the learning more, become that facilitator, not that dictator, the one who tells you, you're gonna do A, B, C, D, E in 55 minutes. No, let the children have a voice in what they're doing, but at the same time, give them ownership so they feel like they are part of their classroom, not just something in their classroom that you run. Because I've seen some of my colleagues who, day one, I'm the teacher, this is what you're gonna do, you're gonna follow my rules, and if you don't follow it, this is what's gonna happen to you. Those kids have no respect for those teachers. Now you can, let them know that you are the authority in that classroom, you are the only adult in that classroom, you are the teacher, but at the same time, you do it in a way that's considerate of their feelings, acknowledging who they are as kids, and acknowledging that they have a voice and they want to participate, they want to feel like they're part of something greater than what they already are. So that's my response to that question.
I agree with her. Once you establish a routine in the classroom and a reputation around the school, you don't have a problem. I had 3 short teachers, women. All they did was look at you. I mean, big guys, they didn't take any stuff. They walked in the classroom, you got your ear pin down. What's your problem, little brother? And I mean, they had a male teacher, chaos every day. Chaos every day. But those 3 women, they looked at you, you sat down, you kept your mouth closed, you followed the rules. And I think she has a routine, the kids know what to expect, the reputation goes all around the building when they come in the room, they know it's business as usual. My little man I had as a teacher, they all do his business unusual.
If I could chime in, I agree with everything that's been said. And discipline is a topic and a word that is getting a lot of attention in the public school space. And we look at the data and we know the data points typically is defiance and disrespect. And I'll ask the audience, what demographic do you think represents the majority of infractions for defiance or disrespect?
African-American boys.
African-American boys, and it's pretty consistent across districts, and that's in, UCity, that's, I don't want to talk for, speak for Ms. Hall's data points, but the data that I've seen is a pretty consistent trend. And so what we're doing in University City is really focusing on humanizing our children. We have to see them as human beings first and understand that we have to enable their hearts to engage their minds. It is a head and a heart business. And right now, our children are dealing with a lot of factors that most adults can't manage. Trauma is real. I know you're hearing a lot about being trauma informed. So we're really focusing on understanding trauma, understanding how it reveals itself in student behavior, helping teachers have tools and resources to effectively navigate those traumas, helping our adults practice self-care, because they're being the mom, the dad, the social worker, the teacher, the sister, the counselor, and they're still trying to take care of their own families. So we have to support our teachers and give them the tools and the resources that they need to be effective. Discipline can be punitive. If I don't know how to behave, putting me out of school, but not teaching me how to remedy my behavior, or teach me why my behavior was a problem, it's not gonna fix the problem. I'm gonna come back, and guess what? I'm gonna do the same thing again. And it's a cycle that repeats itself. So we have what we call frequent flyers They're the same few kids that do the same thing over and over again, and we give them the exact same consequence. And oh, by the way, then we kick them out. Where do they have to go? So we're really trying to reimagine how we do discipline in U City. And it is about mindsets, because there are those adults that really believe, I am the teacher, as Ms. Stovall said. You do as I say. When you come in my room, these are my rules. And there's some children who do not understand the adult-child relationship, because they're taking care of their parents, their mom at home, and their siblings. So we have to teach them that. It's about appropriateness. I always talk to my kids about time and place. There's a time and place for everything. And in this setting, that's inappropriate. But let me explain to you why. Empathy. How do your actions impact others? The restorative piece. We're focusing on restorative justice. We're bringing Fania Davis here soon, so look out for her. She's a guru around restorative practices in Oakland, California. She's one of the best. How do we work to reshape discipline? I don't even like the word. It has a very negative connotation to it. So how do we teach children how to be appropriate so they can sit in an audience and listen to a panel and not talk and be disrespectful and whisper and make noises? We just make a lot of assumptions about our young people, and we have to first see them as the human beings that they are, with the brilliance and the tremendous potential that they have. But it is a head and a heart business, and our teachers need help. So we have to partner with external people who are experts in this area to bring in resources, because the times are very different. They're very different now, and what our children are seeing, what they can access on media is scary. It is scary. So we have to respond differently than we ever have, and we have to be flexible and agile and consistently adapting to the changing environment. But most importantly, we have to understand that they are human beings. They have to have voice. We have to give them agencies. We have to teach them how to advocate, but we also have to teach them about what's appropriate. And that's up for discussion, because what's appropriate in my home may be different in theirs. So we also have to be sensitive and respectful to their home environments and their cultural differences as well. But humanize. We have to humanize our young people.
Not to be redundant, I concur with my fellow panelists here, and just to share briefly, at Maplewood-Richmond Heights, we have our core philosophy of focusing on the climate and culture of each of our buildings and having strong relationships with our students in each of our classrooms. And that's part of the reason why we loop with our students and why we have home visits. We believe in starting there and having authentic relationships, but not only our students, but with our families. Recently, I think it was just last month, the board approved no out-of-school suspensions for K through 3rd grade. So we were ready for that when it was first presented. Never really thought about making it something, you know, in writing and board policy. But moving on from that, like that was putting our foot down, like we've done with other things, saying, okay, this is our commitment to the community. But what I'm committed to is, what are the practices in place? What are our procedures that we're putting in place to wrap around our students? So that's really was the focus of our leadership retreat, and we had teacher leaders as a part of that, to work as teams to be very specific as to what we are doing. So yeah, you can pass a policy, but really what are you putting in place to wrap around kids before that K-12? Not just the early childhood center in the elementary school. So just like Dr. Hardin said, trauma-informed care, that's it. If you haven't done any reading around trauma, it is fascinating because you cannot deny the data. It is the science about how trauma rewires the brain. It blows me away. And so I have said to my staff this summer, the leadership retreat, we will be a trauma-informed district. That is from administration all the way to support staff to the people that are driving and feeding our kids. Everyone needs to understand how trauma manifests itself for our young people. And not only our young people, but their parents. You know, we need to have an understanding when we have a certain situation and how that person is thinking at that time. So another part of our work that we're launching this year is conscious discipline, which talks about the brain state model. You know, are we functioning from the base of the brain, the lizard brain, fight, flight type of response, or is it executive functioning? If you're dealing with trauma, that executive functioning is not happening. And so some of the things that Dr. Hardin talked about, are you fighting? Are you shutting down? What has happened? And so educating everyone in the district to understand what is going on and how trauma manifests itself is critical, and how we engage, the interventions that we put in place, everything. So that's proactive. And the reactive part that we're putting in place, which we started soft launch last year, was restorative practices. And how we continue to respond in a respectful, nurturing way when a student makes a mistake. And they need to understand why this was disruptive, why this was hurtful, and now you need to repair that relationship. But are there still consequences? Yes. You know, if someone is creating an unsafe situation, yeah, there has to be a consequence. We're not eliminating those expectations, but there's the education piece. We're responsible for that. I'm not in the business of kicking kids out of school. That's not why we're here. We need to help them understand how to function with all kinds of people in this space and how your actions can impact others or influence others. You know, that's part of what we need to do. But at the same time, I'm also responsible. I take onus for helping my staff understand the science of behavior, and that they come into a situation where they may have a lizard brain, because we're human. And how do we help them with the skills and the tools to engage at that time? So I'm very excited as well. We have a lot going on at MRH around this topic, but we have in the high school an alternative program that has, for the past 4 years, practiced with conscious discipline and restorative practices, and it's now the model for our elementary school and our early childhood center. And so they're going to have these therapeutic spaces that are similar to the alternative area, where kids will go there and you decompress and you have skilled professionals to help you with mindfulness. To just not ISS, not in-school suspension, not out-of-school suspension, but actually helping you calm down and come up with strategies to be more productive in your space and how to be a better friend. And I have some of my teachers, my superstars wave from ECC, they'll probably be mad at me later. But one of the things that we talk about, and they've done so exceptional with this initiative, is what does it look like to be a leader? We talk about, what do leaders do? See, that's what I'm talking about in terms of climate and culture. What are your expectations? What is the language that you start off with proactively? What is the messaging that you give students in terms of themselves? Instead of saying you're bad, show me what leaders do. How do leaders line up? It's so cute when I go to ECC because they get it. They line up and they're like, leaders, you know, they talk to each other. They know. You know, if you give students the tools, they mean it. You give them voice. You've heard that. And we just kind of keep them in line. Now, do we have young people that are on the far end of the spectrum making some difficult choices? Yes. And it's my responsibility, my administration's responsibility. We have to support teachers with that. If I ruled the world, I would have a social worker in every single building. Every single building. Did y'all hear me? And I would have controlled the world in teacher preparation programs. It would be so different. I mean, there's a lot that I would change, but that social work piece, I cannot expect my teachers to organize all the programs. It's not right. But having a guidance counselor and a social worker, they're just being the team to wrap around staff and family to help them with these things. So discipline, and I agree with Dr. Hart, I just, that's over here. There are many proactive things that we can do before discipline, and that's not saying we're not holding students to high expectations and we need to keep our schools safe. But there are so many other things that we can teach young people and create a climate and culture that shows them that you are someone and we love you and we're happy you're here today. So that is our philosophy of discipline at MRH.
So the importance of holding all students to a high expectation is discussed in Born Bright and elsewhere. Explain how students are impacted by expectation, both from teachers and schools, but also from their family and their peers.
I believe we have to hold students expectations, but we have to believe they can make these grades. I have 3 teachers that always stood out with me. And when I turned in college, I had a teacher who said, I know you can do better. I mean, didn't mark up the paper, but they said, I know you can do better. Even when I did my dissertation, I had a question with my advisor. He said, do you want to take the easy way of because you have EDD or PhD. PhD was more work. He said, do you really want to take the easy way? And so we had the debate. And it becomes, I know, I got 2 sons working on theirs too now. But you have the debate of people not saying that's wrong. You don't want to do that. They ask the question. And they expect you to come up to a certain level. When I studied, I had an advisor, he said, human beings are classified human beings because they have the capacity to do certain things. All of them, because that's how they're classified. A quart milk bottle is called a quart milk bottle because it can hold a quart. Right? Anybody disagree with that? A pint milk bottle is called a pint milk bottle, it's supposed to hold a pint, right? Human being is called a human being because they have a certain capacity. All human beings have the same capacity. Sometimes limitations are placed on that capacity. And it's up to us to help get rid of those limitations, to help them rise to the capacity we know they can do. And so the expectation is, I know you can do better, Johnny. You have the capacity to do better because you know that. And I've seen teachers, oh God, they turn their head and they walk away. We have to make sure that we help students fulfill their capacity because it's there. I started out in special ed. I could have gotten as much cup towels and pothole loops as I wanted because the feeling was one special, always special. I had 19 students take the test for high school, 16 passed. When we had a teacher in the building who couldn't teach, 2 of my girls kept her class while she went out to learn how to teach. You couldn't do that today. Parents would sue the school. You got 2 kids keeping classroom. But it was a matter of expectation. They rose to what was expected of them to do. And I think we have to have expectations for teachers. And I would call a teacher in the room, Ms. Jones, you're the worst 2nd grade teacher in the district. What can I do to help you? You don't want to be at the bottom. What can I do to help you? Because right now, you're at the bottom of the list. What can I do? It's a matter of offering help. The same way with principals. We had Ferguson Forest and Berkeley merger, a gentleman came to the district from Michigan. He had the worst school in the district. He put the ranking of his school on a bulletin board. He said, what are we going to do? They got buttons, watch out. And each year they rose a level till they began to be one of the top schools in the district. It was a matter of expectation. We're going to do this. You don't hide it, but you work with teachers, you work with students, you work with principals. What can we do to achieve our school to make it the best? You got to confront the issue, and if you want to know the worst teachers, go to the class reunions. I'm having my 60th, we'll talk about the worst teachers we had, and that's been 50, 60 years ago. They stayed.
Wow.
All the
Infamous.
all the students are the worst teachers in the building. Then you go look at the evaluations, if you're a principal, a superintendent, or a principal don't. Then you set the classroom. Then you say, Ms. Jones, this behavior, your behavior doesn't match your evaluation. Tell the principal, Ms. Jones' behavior doesn't match the evaluation. I don't need you if you can't see poor performance. And you have to help that teacher. I believe some teachers need help. And you have to say, how can I help you to be a better teacher? I've given teachers video cameras. I say, I don't need them. You can show them with your union buddy. You can look at it together. I don't know if it's helped when I come back to view you in the classroom. But you have to help individuals first. Then if it doesn't succeed, then you have to kind of coach them and take another direction. But children, you help them. Teachers, you help them. Principals, you help them. And parents, you have to be vigilant. Citizens, you have to make visits to the school. You know, some people think because they moved from St. Louis Public School to U City, they reach heaven. They don't visit. I mean, look, I've stayed here 43 years, and I was on the school board in U City. And I used to have parents who wouldn't get involved. They wouldn't get involved. They just, well, I moved out here now, I can rest. No, you can't rest. You have to come up to the school, you have to visit. Some teachers work hard, others don't. I remember we had a principal. We started once, we had tenure. Because everybody's getting tenure. We said, well, why don't we ask the principals to come before the board to say why we should let these people stay for 30 years? We said, why are you recommending this teacher for tenure? Well, they do good with paper. Wait a minute. They don't like kids, but they are good with paper. At that time, you didn't have to just say, we don't want you to come. And we didn't approve that tenure. But we have to go all the levels, and parents have to be involved. And we all have a burden to work with our kids and our teachers and confront them with their failures, their successes. And if you don't know who the worst ones are, ask the teacher, ask the kids who finished. Every teacher in the building knows the failures in their school because they carry the load for them. And so we know who they are. We have to confront it, but we have to have that high expectation if we're going to reach the top. The bottom is full. There's a lot of room at the top. And we have to visualize being at the top. I like what this sister was saying because I had a friend who took her whole class to Africa for a neighborhood. She raised money to see the world, like she said, give kids work. She took her whole class to West Africa, Senegal. She had fundraisers, begging money, because she wanted those kids to see a different world. And so there are things, you dream of possibilities, and you go out to fulfill that possibility. And the superintendents support those people. And the principals support those people. And we all have, and we do well, and we grow. And they take those visions and dreams with them when they go on. And they take them back when they become superintendents, right? Right?
That's right. So random acts of excellence are simply unacceptable. We have to look at having a standard of creating an ethic of excellence where it permeates the space in the schoolhouse. And that's from the superintendent's office to the classroom to the bus drivers to the cafeteria. And that should be the goal, and that should be the standard. And oftentimes we have these random acts of excellence. We have some teachers who are brilliant. We have other teachers that we cringe when we have to place students in those classrooms, and that's a problem. Expectations matter. Children do exactly what adults expect them to do, good or bad. That's a fact. Talk to them, they will tell you that. The classes where they do not have to perform, they don't. The classes where they are pushed, they excel. Yes, there should be some internal motivation, absolutely, but who are we talking about? Children. They're not adults yet, they're children. So yes, they may take the easy road. So we have to work on this notion of efficacy across the board, and I do think that it impacts students tremendously. There's a great person who's now deceased, her name is Rita Pearson, and one of my colleagues from Ridner is here, and we were doing a leadership development session, and he showed one of her TED Talks. It's called Every Kid Needs a Champion. If you haven't, I see some teachers shaking their head. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But she talks about how at the beginning of the year, when she was teaching, she got the worst class, the worst group of kids academically. And when she got them, she was like, how am I going to work with these kids? And so when she met them the first day, she said, you know why you're in this class? And they said, why? Because you're the best. You're the smartest kids in the class. They gave you to me because I'm the best teacher in the school. They said, really? So she believed in them. They were not the best kids in the class. They were not the best kids in the school. But when they walked around that school, she said they strutted. They had their head held high and they walked around that school and they acted as if they were the best group in that school. And how do you think they performed for her? It is about expectations. Every child needs that excitement. They need to feel a love and a joy for learning. I know we talk about parents. I get that, and we do need parents to be more involved. But because my parent is not involved does not mean I do not deserve joy and a love of learning. So we have to fill gaps sometimes, and it's hard, and that's why we need help. Sometimes we have to go above and beyond, and it's hard, and that's why we need help. But we must do it. There's no child that we can afford to sacrifice. I have a 5-year-old that'll be entering Jackson Park in the school district of University City in August. I want, for the other 2,800 students that I serve, exactly what I want for my little baby. I want her to have that excitement, the enthusiasm, the ambition, the passion to know that she has no limitations academically, none, that she can achieve at whatever she aspires to do. That's important for every single child. So do expectations matter when it comes to shaping the educational outcomes for students? You better believe it does. Good or bad, absolutely it does.
Amen.
I had 3 kids go to Jackson Park. You better keep the dream alive.
Legacy. So when I think about that question, immediately I think that is a social justice issue, and that has been my platform since I've been in the district for 10 years. You know, it's all about expectations. And not too long ago, at a new teacher orientation, I'm laughing because my assistant superintendent, she was like freaked out. Because I said to all the new recruits, I said, if you do not believe in educating all children and the work here of closing the opportunity gap at Maplewood-Richmond Heights, you need to leave now. Because this is what we're here to do. It's all about educational equity, and we have methods and how we do that, and we want to support you and help you wrap around students, because that's what we do. But you have to believe in educating all students. So at MRH, what we've been refining for the past 7 years is our response to intervention model to ensure that we have high expectations and we're really clear in an instructional and social emotional format how to ensure that we have educational growth for all students. You know, all of our kids come to us at different levels, but the expectation is for them to grow and to excel. And so you can measure that, you can see the data, and people have to own that. And then what can we do to ensure, if it's not working, what can we do to help the students? I think about our high school right now. Not too long ago, we started the initiative of equity audits. And equity auditing is an interesting process because it can be a little uncomfortable when you ask difficult questions about your practice. And why is there a gap? And why is there a gender difference in certain enrollment in certain courses? And so the administration at the high school is focusing on honors courses and advanced placement. And they see that there's a disparity. And they had to continue to drill into that. And it was uncomfortable, and I also made them go before the board and share that data, and then talk about next steps. Because their goal is to ensure that every student takes an honors course or an AP course. So you just don't stick kids in there, that's cruel. You have to scaffold their learning. But you let every single student in the high school know that you can do this. Now you may not want to continue, but guess what? You had that rigorous experience at some point in your high school career. So it's all about high expectations, and to me it is a social justice issue. And if you step into your classroom and you don't think that all students can achieve, why are you doing this job? You can't have those low expectations like that. You may need some help meeting the needs of certain students. I take responsibility with supporting you with that. But you have to believe that all children can achieve at high levels.
To answer this question, I'm going to try to answer it from a teacher point of view, because I'm on a panel with 3 superintendents, one former superintendent. And I shared with Ms. Hall that I'm laughing what Mr. Wright said about the easy way out, because I guess I'm taking the easy way out because I'll graduate with my EDS August 4th. To be certified as a superintendent of special education. And then I'm working on my doctorate, so I guess I am taking it. But anyway, when it talks about high expectations, I see this from multiple points of view. As a classroom teacher, I think I have some of the highest expectations that I know most of my colleagues that I work with. And it's not because I feel that, you know, as teachers, we somehow have that sense of, there's some people who don't want to share. You know, you have those colleagues who don't want to share ideas. They think if I'm doing something, I can't share it with you. You might get acknowledgement, you might get, I don't care about acknowledgement. I'm one of those teachers that you don't ever have to tell me I'm doing a good job, because when I feel like I'm not doing a good job, that's when I will leave St. Louis Public Schools, because I'm not going to hurt anybody's kid. So I'm not one of those teachers who come to work for the good job. You're doing a good job. Keep it up. I don't need that. But when it comes to high expectations, you have to believe in the job that you're doing, and you have to believe in those kids that they are capable of reaching your standards. And they have to know that you won't make exceptions for them. That, you know, I'm not going to drop what I'm expecting you to do because you don't want to do it. Now, if I have to modify and adapt my vision a little bit because of what I'm seeing, okay, I don't mind doing that. But I'm not going to change what I'm expecting you to do because you feel in your heart that you can't meet that goal. How do you know if you don't try? At the beginning of this last school year, when I first took on the challenge of taking a science lab, the science lab was a place where the kids didn't want to go. They didn't like going to the science lab. My own class, they didn't like going to the science lab. So when I took on the challenge of taking over the science lab, that was one thing that I had to overcome, was the students' ideas about what science is supposed to be. They thought that when they left from the classroom that I was just going to stick the science book in front of them again for 60 minutes and we're going to read exactly what they just read in the classroom. When I took over the science lab, there was no one to tell me how to teach it. Well, this is what you do, this is what. I had to take it upon myself to design a program that I wanted the kids to have. So I felt like, okay, well, we're gonna do the instructional piece first. They're gonna have that technology piece in the middle, and then it's definitely gonna be hands-on every time they come in that lab, because they need to know, first of all, they need to learn the content area. They need to see how it relates to the real world application, and then we actually need to do it, so they make that connection. And at first it was hard because kids would come to the science lab and tell me they hated science. I mean, I teach 14 classes a week, and every class they would tell me they hated science. They didn't like science. The science book stayed on the shelf in the closet. The teacher didn't teach science. So that was something that I had to overcome. And now the science lab is one of their favorite classes in the building. Now when I hear my colleagues tell me, they would use me as punishment for kids, well, you're not going to that science lab. Oh, no. I feel honored by that, because I'm like, hey, I reached the status where I'm punishment, anyway, but hey, whatever works. But I think in terms of high expectations, it can't be teachers in isolation that have those high expectations. The building as a whole has to have a unified vision of what they want to achieve. It can't be certain teachers in the building working toward their goal. It has to be everyone. I know what we've been striving to do personally in our own particular building is that to hold everybody accountable. Because you have some teachers, because of their specialist teachers, well, I don't have to take the math test. I don't have anything to do with that math test because I'm the gym teacher. I don't have to do that math test because I'm the art teacher. No, you are accountable too. And so I know personally, I'm taking it upon myself, and I've talked to my principal about this, is that I think that all the teachers in the building need to know how important it is for them to teach science from preschool up. You don't wait until the 5th grade when those 5th grade teachers are charged with trying to teach content in 10 months to kids who haven't opened a science book since they were in 1st grade. It's unfair. So one of my personal initiatives, as long as